Okay, so what we're gonna do today is a little bit different. Obviously, we're looking at one of these folders. I have a bunch of these folders actually, as probably the title of the video would suggest. We're going to look through some designs, specifically a design that I made for a spacesuit as well as a powered exoskeleton. Each of these things I sort of made prototypes for, but each of them had problems that I really didn't follow up on them much, but eventually I got rid of those, but I still have the designs just so if I want to make improvements in the future, and I thought I would share these designs to see if they would be useful to someone else. So we're going to look at this folder first. Let's start off with the exoskeleton. As you can see, there are two designs here. This is a more streamlined version, and this is a bulkier version. Progressively, as we look through these pictures through time, they will become more and more detailed, but these are some of the earlier ones that I did. So they're not very detailed, but basically how it was it was just an arm and a leg and a leg, and they were connected by just metal. There was thread rods going across here, and it was just angle iron the entire way, and it was powered completely by pneumatic cylinders, of which I still have them. You've seen them in the one for I made a video about my robots. It's those cylinders. I also tried to streamline it using smaller bits of angle iron and including more degrees of freedom, though this design I think it would be weaker. I haven't really made it yet because I want to improve it more before I do it. Okay, so here's the next pages. As you can see, these are rather old. These are from, let's see, 2015. So basically what I wanted to do was I wanted to finish the arms of the first one, which I was able to do. I was also able to finish the legs as well for the first version, but I didn't get all the pneumatic cylinders on each of the joints, and that was basically just because I didn't have enough money to do that. As you can see, this is the design acceleration plan because I wanted to accelerate the design of this thing. It was taking a very long time, and I just wanted to get, I guess, what you call a minimum viable product, and I got something, but it wasn't really viable. This is a side view of what it was. It was just single joints across the entire axis, except there wasn't really anything here. It was just, there was one here, there wasn't one here, there was one there. So very limited. Even this itself would have been pretty limited. But as you can see in this other view, these were some of the ideas that I had for how the arm would move. See, it's just two pieces of metal, pneumatic cylinders in a joint. I would probably revisit this type of thing if I would try to do it again. Also, this is a claw. It's basically a motor and a little grabber thing. I don't think that would really be necessary. I just need to get the basic stuff done first before I do anything like that. Turning it over again, you can see this is another cylinder. It's to punch stuff if that was something which I want to do. Also, at the time I was experimenting using pneumatic cylinders. This would be a representation of one. Yeah. Annoyingly, we have to flip it over again. And yeah, this was basically how I would do the pneumatic cylinder system. I had what was here is a couple of pumps, and they would go through 3 tanks, just like I showed before. They were the PVC pipe tanks, sort of like this one actually, except they were longer. This is how I'm going to revisit this. I'm gonna make this again, but just with shorter ones, so we don't take as long to fill them up, and it's more portable and easily to use. So it was just some adapters of how I would do it. Flipping the page over again, you reveal that even to this day, I really don't know how I would control the pneumatic cylinders in any kind of controlled way. So basically I would just put buttons on the handle, and that would be to actuate the cylinders using electric solenoids. I didn't really even have that. I just used basic valves because the solenoid system would require relays or MOSFETs or whatever, and those would have to be powered by a separate circuit, and those circuits would have to coordinate with each other, and that's kind of hard because it's a very digital movement. It's either extended or collapsed. Here's another design of the chest. This is just the right arm, which I was focusing on. I got some longer cylinders and I was trying to put them on the arm. I was doing the longer cylinders and the shorter cylinders at the same time. I think that was actually a pretty good idea. I might revisit that one. I'm saying that I'm going to revisit them. I might not. I'll just keep them on mind for when I may or may not revise this project. There's some other stuff that I would like to get done first. I think my solar power stuff is actually almost done now. I have some smaller projects too, but this is something I'll do if I have time. Again, more of these arm designs and their cutaway. I believe this was for the back of the exoskeleton, how I would have, these are the 2 plates on the back, and I would have cross sections going in between them, and this would be for like back support. It would like be a padded area, and again, I would do that, but at the time I didn't really have the time or the money to do that. This was in 2015. Not very good time to do that, especially considering I was barely in high school and I had work to do at the end of the year. This is another picture of my streamline revision. Problem is it's not very streamlined because, as I would find out, there's actually no space to put a pneumatic cylinder under the armpit. You can't have joints here really at all. You can just have them going across here, and if you do that, then they kind of have to be as strong as possible, especially if you want to modify your strength to any certain extent. You don't really need something big and heavy just to go kind of amplify your strength, but you're not going to be Iron Man if you do that. You're going to be Steel Bar Man. Yeah. I wanted to have a fully enclosed suit, again like Iron Man. As you see all these people on the internet making their powered exoskeletons, none of them are really fully enclosed. And how I would like to do that is because if you did that, then you could have like climate control systems, a heads-up display, other stuff. I could also have the boots mounted onto the legs and the arms mounted. It just goes on like a piece of clothing rather than it like bolting down and being hard to remove and take off. This was how I thought I would do it. I had no idea how I would build the actual suit. In reality, it would probably be complicated. As you can see here, I wanted the heads-up display. If you put a display right on your eyes, it would just go out of focus, so it has to be extended a little bit outward. it would just be an awkward situation. And going to the next page, not much to see here. This is that whole back support thing again, but with the arms attached to it, just to give a better view. This is another system of how I wanted to do plated steel armor, and I would bend the steel at angles to conform around the body. As you can see, it would be quite triangular in appearance, because that would be what I would want to do, so I could get all the flat surfaces. I'd probably use rivets for this if I did it now, but I don't really see the benefit of doing that. Here's how it would be without any of the plates. You can see cylinders, as well as on the edges you can see little rings, and this would where everything would supposedly mount. There'd be plates down there that your boots would strap into, and that would be a better design than the previous version, but it would probably be limiting in mobility and hard to get in and out of. This is, so if you want to make a full Iron Man suit, this is the only way I would ever know how to do it. So it would have to be pressurized, it would have to have bars going across, and it would basically have to have wings growing across if you wanted to fly. People are trying to make it hover, but that would be very energy intensive. So you would just have some wings going across. Problem with this is the steel is heavy, and that would conflict with what the wings would do, and have to make them even bigger than they would already have to be. And where would you get the power to do all this stuff? How would you get in and out of the suit? Once again, these are the problems we're facing. I'm not really judging the engineering integrity of a 15-year-old, which I was when I made this. Actually, I was 14, so yeah, pretty fun. Another one of these more absurd designs. This one with claws. Same idea as the other ones, but there would be a frame on the outside rather than the frame going through the inside. If anything, this would just give me a lighter internal structure and possibly have the ability to connect these on and off at these points, and then I could just slide it off like it was a normal suit. And here are some leg designs. As you can see, this would be a body, and basically whenever you make joints, you have to have them parallel to each other if you want to get the full range of movement. And you can't really do that because there'll be joints at different heights and angles, and you basically have to have a ball joint kind of here, and that would conflict with how you would move. I was still going for the claw thing. I actually wanted to get a pneumatic claw, which it would be a good thing to have, but it would just be too heavy if I were to do it. Here's the design for the legs. This would be a design where it's a parallelogram structure and they spring back and forth. You can use this on robots actually, and it's considerably easier than making just a normal leg, and they would have to have more motors used to balance. I wouldn't really use this on an exoskeleton because the human body isn't really like this, and it doesn't have joints at the same places, and once again the joints have to be parallel if they really want to do anything. So looking back through all my old designs for the exoskeleton, which is all we're going to do today, if I were to revisit this project, what would I do? I would probably go with pneumatic cylinders again, but The problem that I had was the ones that I were using were metric cylinders, and I would get standard imperial measurement cylinders so I could get the bolt attachments for it. I would get more of them, solenoid valves, control, as well as I would just go for a very basic design of just the arms and legs. I'll probably do it out of aluminum actually, just so it's lighter. And that would just be get the body and not focus really on anything else until I have that down. So I hope you see what improvements you can make if you want to do this, and goodbye. Here's a picture of an anime girl for fun.